This is episode number 197. I'm talking about a guy who charges $30,000 per year minimum for his mastermind and coaching program. That's coming up.
This is the Red Podcast, the marketing podcast for influencers. Rise above the noise. Expand your audience. Deliver impact. Here's your host, David Hooper.
I've mentioned this on Red Podcast so many times I can't even count. I live in an urban neighborhood. It's not uncommon for people to walk right up to my door, knock on it, try to sell me on various ideologies, products, services. A lot of times it's kids, Girl Scouts selling cookies, students at the local school doing a fundraiser. Now that Google Fiber's in Nashville, we've got Comcast, we've got AT&T trying to get everybody under contract for television, for internet. I had a guy one time trying to sell me meat off the back of a truck. Didn't work on me because I'm vegetarian, but having done door-to-door sales myself, I'm always nice to people, and if it's just a little bit of a stretch, usually I'll go for their offer. 18 months ago, I had a knock from the kings of door knockers, the Jehovah's Witnesses. I actually did an entire episode about the experience because I was so inspired. That's episode number 89 of Red Podcast. Go to redpodcast.com/89 if you're interested in that. And a couple of days ago, they came back. When they were here before, I'd actually invited them to come back. I didn't want to talk about the Bible, which is what they wanted to talk about, but I did want to talk to them about rejection and what enabled them to go door to door, street to street, neighborhood to neighborhood, spreading their message and more or less getting rejected 99 times out of 100, maybe even more. So I was glad to see him. And that was a little bit shocking to them for the reasons that I just mentioned. But I went out on my porch, had a good conversation, and here's what I talked about with the two women who were there. One of them, she told me, she said, if you had something that could change somebody's life, wouldn't you want them to know about it? Think about that. We should all be so lucky to be in a business that we believe in so strongly that we feel compelled to tell everybody about it, even if we're rejected 99 times out of 100. Maybe you have that kind of business. Maybe there's something about your existing business that you can tweak so you do feel that way. If you had something that you felt that could change somebody's life, wouldn't you have the strength to walk up to their house, knock on the door, and tell them about it? I also talked to these two about the reactions that they get when they show up. I don't know if you've ever had this happen on your street, but if you look out, there were probably a dozen, maybe 15 or 20 of these guys just spread out, knocking on every door. They take over the entire street. They're up on porches, knocking on doors. The entire street is covered very quickly. Most people, they're hiding. They're not glad to see him. And here's what she told me. She said, it's not personal. It's not personal. People are busy. And these two understood that people are busy. That's why they come back so often. And in a strange twist, I actually had another visitor to my house this morning. I didn't hear the knock, heard my dog barking, went outside later to find a flyer. It says, will suffering ever end? Would you say yes, no, or maybe? Has a woman crying. She's suffering right on the front. So I got a new friend in the Jehovah's Witnesses. Next time when they show up, I will have my tape recorder ready. This is the Red Podcast, the podcast for influencers. If you're a blogger, podcaster, speaker, marketer, nonfiction author, or a business owner who wants to reach, expand, and develop your audience, this is the podcast for you. I talk about book publishing, podcasting, speaking, and other marketing elements of your business that you must master to make a name for yourself. Making a name for yourself within your industry and beyond. It's what this podcast is about. It's about how to take your idea and make money with it. One of the most effective ways that you can do that is through publishing. Books are a fantastic way to show your authority and spread your message. And I was at a book launch event just recently. I go to these a lot. Usually there's some kind of big promotion. If you buy a book, you can get a free ticket. And that's what happened with this one. If you spend any time online, you've probably seen this. You'll get an offer to buy a book. And authors and publishers do this because they want a lot of sales on the opening week of the book's release. So you buy a book and you get a ticket to a free event. That is how I got invited to this event. Book was for sale. I purchased it, got myself a free ticket. anytime a book is promoted in this way, where they do a big launch the first week, I buy it. One, because I want to support authors. Two, because I want to see how the launch is done, not only for my own curiosity, for my own book launches, but also to tell you about it. So this book was no exception. The way it worked is you would purchase the book from your normal outlet, Amazon, bn.com. There are a couple of other outlets that you could do this from. Go to the author's site, upload a screenshot of your receipt, and you would be registered for the book launch event. Now, when you did that, there was an option for a VIP upsell. If you paid $50, there would be a bonus meetup before the official book launch event, only for the VIPs. And you'd also get better seats during the event, maybe the first 5 rows, first 10 rows, something of that nature. So you'd be right up there in the front, where you could see the whites of his eyes as he was speaking, rubbing elbows with all the other important people. It'd be just like first class. That's one reason why people would pay more for a VIP section like this. You get to say that you're a VIP. Same thing about first class. Have you ever known anybody who's flown first class? Maybe you've flown first class. What's the best thing about it? It's not the extra leg room. I'm 6'3", and believe me, the extra leg room is nice. But the best part about flying first class, if you're really honest about it, is that you can say you're flying first class. The best part about flying first class is they board you at the very beginning of the boarding process. The best part about flying first class is everybody else who's in the secondary boarding position, they have to walk by you when they're boarding, and they see you in first class. So that's a huge reason why people would pay $50 to attend an otherwise free event. However, there's some other big reasons why people do this. One, they feel they're going to get more attention from the guru, from the author. They feel like they might get their products noticed, their questions answered. They also feel like maybe the guru is going to give them a favor. Like, hey, thanks for helping me out, paying this $50 for this VIP. Let me do you a favor. Maybe I can blast my mailing list of 80,000 people because you paid me $50. That never happens, but you feel like it might happen. And a lot of times, people just like to kiss the ring. They like to be next to a guru. We think by being next to important people that some of that importance is going to rub off on us. So I'm going to this event. I've purchased the book. I have the free ticket, not the VIP ticket. And I get a text from my friend earlier that day. He said, hey, are you going to the event tonight? He knows I go to these things. I said, yeah. And he asked me, are you going to the VIP party? I say, I'm not going to the VIP party. I didn't get the VIP ticket. Just got the free ticket. He says, no. There's a different VIP party, the Real V.I.P. party. I'll get you in. So I go to the venue where the book launch is, and I arrive just in time for the main event to start. And as I'm seated there in the back of the venue, I see the $50 VIPs come out of a secret location, parade right up to the front, and get in those first 5 or 10 rows. Those were the VIPs. And I recognized a couple people that I knew. It's a local event, so I knew some of them. They go up to the front. I'm in the back. We get the same basic show. It's on the Jumbotron. It's okay. It's a book launch event. It's really something just to kind of promote the book. During the event, I check in with my friend who had texted me earlier. I send him a text. I said, hey, I'm in the back. Let's connect afterwards. Connect with him. We hop in his car. We go to a different venue. It's a high-end restaurant and bar. Valet parking in the front. There are a lot of sports cars, black SUVs, a lot of really nice cars in the front of this venue. Somebody guarding the door. There's a name on the list. My buddy got me on the list. And inside, tons of free booze, tons of free food, all of it wrapped in bacon, just booze and meat, the whole thing. Kind of that super classy, luxurious feel. Everybody's wearing sport coats or suits. Not me. I'm like slumping it back in the cheap seats. It's kind of hanging out, watching, listening. Is that none of the VIPs, the $50 VIPs, were there. Something that I noticed was that this party, the real VIP party, was never, ever mentioned. It wasn't mentioned in the initial email that I got, in the initial promotion. It wasn't mentioned during the book launch event. This was a real VIP party. So who were the people there? Like I said, I'm just kind of cruising around, listening, introducing myself, but then shutting up and letting them talk to me because I didn't belong there. I had nothing to say. But I did want to learn something, so I listened a lot. One group of people that I noticed there were all paying the author $30,000 per year minimum for coaching. Now, why would somebody do that? $30,000 a year, that seems like a lot of money, right? Even if you're making $200,000, $300,000 a year, it's still a big chunk of the money you're making to pay somebody $30,000 a year for coaching. Why would somebody do that? The same reason somebody would pay $50. More attention, maybe you'll get favors, you get closer to the guru, closer to the author in this case. Some of that credibility is going to rub off on you. You might get access to the network. You get access to food that's wrapped up in bacon. I'm thinking, this guy really has some kind of business here. This is amazing. He's fantastic about making everybody at every level feel like they're special. I know exactly one person at this event. It's the guy who got me in. So I'm bouncing around the whole time, introducing myself, trying to meet people, but then shutting up and listening. Because I wanted to know who these people are at the Real V.I.P event. And one of the things that I noticed, there were some super low-key people. They were in the back, being just like me, shutting up and listening. You had to walk up to them. They weren't flashy. And those were the really high-end VIPs. How much did they pay to get into this party? None. Absolutely none. And these were the guys that were actually doing deals with the guru, with the author. These are the guys that are doing the real deals, making the real money. These were the guys who actually had access to him, not paying $30 for some kind of monthly mastermind or quarterly mastermind or however this guy worked it out. These were the guys that could get on their mobile phone and call his mobile phone directly, had his personal email address. They actually had direct access to him and would get a response back. And the reason I tell you this long, drawn-out story is not to throw this guy under the bus. It's to look at how he's running his business, because it was amazing to me that he made every level feel special. The free guys like me, all I did, spend $20, got invited to this invite-only event. All I had to do was buy a book. The $50 guys, he made them feel special. They were the top guys at that free event. You got the guys who were paying at least $30,000 a year for a coaching group. They thought they were the top level. Then you had the real top level, the guys that didn't have to pay to be there because they were doing the big deals, the six-figure deals, had the private access, could get this guy anytime they wanted. Beyond looking at this guy's business and how you organize this, I think here's the big lesson for you if you ever are approached with a kind of opportunity like this, whether it's a $50 VIP pass, whether it's a $30,000 or more mastermind. And that is that you do not buy your way in. You don't. It's who you are, not how much you pay, that gets you access. It's who you are, not how much you pay, that gives you access to the money that's available through situations like this. Another big lesson that was very obvious here is that noisy doesn't always mean successful. Remember what I said about first class. The best thing about it is that you can tell all your buddies that you were in first class. That's what a lot of people think. But real players, they're not flashy. If you're wearing a Rolex watch, you don't need to tell somebody that you're wearing a Rolex watch. People who need to know. They can recognize a Rolex watch. Successful recognizes successful. When you look at the time, they're going to recognize that you're wearing a Rolex watch. You don't have to say, oh, let me check my Rolex and see what time it is. Noisy does not always mean more successful. And it's who you are, not how much you pay, that gets you access. I did an entire episode about this, episode number 193. If you want that, redpodcast.com/193. It's all about how to become that guy, the guy who charges 2, 3, 4, 5 times as much as everybody else in his industry. redpodcast.com/193 for that. Hey, next episode, I'm calling it The Curse of Talent. Are you too talented? Maybe. If you want to find out for sure, you need to subscribe to Red Podcast. You can do that at redpodcast.com. If you're on an iPhone, an Android, however you get your podcast, one click, I will get you subscribed. And on the next episode, you can find out once and for all if you are, in fact, too talented for your own good. If you've got questions or comments, reach out to me. Twitter is the best way to do it. @David Hooper is my username on Twitter. Thanks so much for listening to Red Podcast. Thank you for building this community of entrepreneurs, influencers, and people with a message to spread. I'll see you on the next episode of Red Podcast.
You've been listening to Red Podcast, the marketing podcast for influencers. Never miss an episode. Subscribe now with your iPhone, Android, or via RSS at redpodcast.com.
Saw her coming.
Who is it?
She just put a flyer on our door.
Wow.
It was good timing, though.
That was perfect timing.
Go to your bed. Go to your bed. It's okay. She's gone.